I haven't even watched that movie, and I already hate that song.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dude's Brunch, a podcast about breakfast food, pop culture, and music, but not necessarily in that order. I'm
And
your
most
host,
definitely not about Frozen.
and most definitely not about Frozen.
Get right.
I'm your host, Taylor, and I'm going to introduce our panel. First up, hailing from the suburbs of Cincinnati, where he slings burritos all day long listening to Disney soundtracks, Tyler Reed. What'd you have for brunch today? How was your week?
Whew. I don't know. I guess I had an okay week. Lots of work. Set up my own website. Finally, I got a real website now, so that's good. Bump it up later. For brunch, I didn't really have anything because I was late to work.
Ooh.
Yep.
Did you have to be a burrito jockey today?
That's right. But
What's the worst position on the burrito assembly line?
probably rolling the burrito actually.
Ooh.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're getting the hot sauce and some sour cream, really any combination of any liquid-based items, you're in for a bad time. You know, if someone comes through and they just want the rice, the beans, the meat, and like some cheese and lettuce, you're good. You got it.
Kind of like those extra large shakes at Sonic.
That's right.
It's just not meant to be a thing.
Also a nightmare. Literally couldn't fit into the machine that it was designed to use.
And up north in Akron, where I hear they don't even have fast food,
Old
Sean,
tires. That's all you get. You just get ground up old tires and milk.
Sean, what did you have for brunch today, and how was your week?
Good, good. I had a toast and jelly, and black coffee.
There you go.
So it was good.
Nice. Well, down here in Athens, Ohio, it's been a pretty crazy weekend. There have been lots of tourists in town for Numberfest and a number of other things. And so most of my weekend has been trying to sleep in and then getting woken up by people out in the streets outside my apartment. And so my brunch today was like coffee and Ritz crackers because I was out of food in my apartment and I was very angry about being awake. And so I just laid in bed and watched Bob's Burgers until I felt like doing something with my day.
Our brunch life has just gone downhill since we started this show.
It has. We start a podcast about brunch and then we all just eat garbage every week.
I had jelly and toast. That doesn't sound like garbage.
Well,
to me.
actually, Sean's the real
Sean had-
winner.
Yeah, but last week and the week before that, all Sean had was black coffee.
Well, it's fine. He's coming back this week strong.
That's fair. And now I just want a cup of coffee. Anywho, so if you're new to Dude's Brunch, the way this works is we're going to talk about 3 different topics of pop culture. Each of us is going to present one, and then we're going to discuss them. You can play along at home by tweeting in at Dude's Brunch or commenting on wherever you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And so we're just going to dive right in. Who wants to go first this week?
By the way, we should make a bingo board.
Crap, we never even talked about this. Who was going to go
In
first?
addition
Yeah,
to
we didn't
our-
decide who's going to go first.
Oh, okay.
I'll go first because mine's the easiest.
Okay.
You got it, Tyler.
Okay, so this week, once again, I decided to go for something simple, something easy, simple and clean, the way it should make me feel tonight. Kingdom Hearts reference for those of you out there. Anyway, so I chose playlists. And so what I wanted to know is I wanted to just kind of see like if you have any memories of your earliest playlists. Was it embarrassing? Are you proud of it? I know specifically for me, one of my first playlists had Smash Mouth, and Smash Mouth, like songs from like there's like One Less Than Jake song and like some AC/DC and like shit like that. So my earliest playlists were not great. Sugar Ray.
Oh, that's okay.
So it sounds like you're not proud of that then.
No, not at all. I've actually I've gotten a little bit better, but the introduction of like iPods have kind of lessened my need for making playlists, so I haven't really worked on that skill.
which is odd because it seems like, at least in the earlier days, playlists were the focus on iPods and things.
I think I mostly use playlists now to get like as a way to get to know like new girlfriends like musical tastes, or to like share our musical tastes so they can get like a sample of what we're into. So it's still Catherine, by the way.
Right.
It has
One more week,
changed.
Catherine. You managed to tie this guy down.
And she's
Into
watching
you.
right now thinking, well, we're going to be having a talk later.
Oh, you better make a redemption playlist, Tyler.
Right. Well, no, I made a Kingdom Hearts reference, so I'm probably in the clear.
Aw.
We'll see. Catherine, you know what our Twitter handle is, @DudesBrunch. Hit us up if Tyler's getting himself into trouble, because we want to watch and laugh. So, the earliest... The earliest playlist that I can remember was a mixed CD that I made for like a family vacation I was going on or something, and I didn't want to carry a bunch of CDs with me. And I remember like half of the CD was just songs from Modest Mouse's Good News for People Who Love Bad News, but like only the best songs. And then it was just a smattering of other things that had come out around that time. So like maybe one or two Coldplay songs and a U2 song. And I'm not very proud of it.
That's a pretty indigestible playlist.
I mean, I was like 12. So.
Right. Didn't you have like the clean version of Modest Mouse? Didn't
No,
your
I did
parents
not.
make you- there was an album I feel like that I remember you telling me that they made you get like a clean version for, or they were like adamant about it early on or something, right?
I bought the first Tenacious D album at one point, like in a bargain bin, and they took it away from me. But I was really young. I was like maybe 8.
It's okay. They saved you from a life of turmoil.
Yeah, that's true. Sean?
I don't know. I guess my earliest thing was I actually used to take songs off the radio with a cassette tape when I had a boombox.
Old school.
So yeah, I don't remember what went on that. But now I don't really do playlists that much, just because I like to listen to all the albums. I do playlists, but I feel like I never listen to them. It's just like, well, I like this song, I should put it on here.
There was a time like maybe it was a year or two ago you were into playlists.
I still make them occasionally.
It was maybe a little bit further than that. I don't know. It was like when Spotify first was introduced. I feel like you made a few playlists that I was really into. I really liked them. They were pretty solid.
I still do that series, the Oatmeal series.
They're really great.
On number 7 now.
Not related to the Oatmeal
have
comic.
1 and 2 in my Spotify.
There you go.
I follow I follow your guys' playlists, so I just don't like. Usually when I listen to stuff, I'm targeted.
Yeah.
See, I'm weird. Like, I'm either super targeted or I just want to have like a very particular mood or aesthetic, and that's what I use playlists for. Like, I have a couple of 8-hour, 9-hour long playlists that I follow from other people that are specific genre playlists, and I just play them on shuffle when I'm at work because I need background noise.
Okay.
I unfortunately still use Spotify. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm using Spotify at work, so.
Or sorry, I meant Pandora. You're definitely not using Pandora.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Pandora is just a really shitty playlist all the time, basically. Do you like Andrew WK? I guess that means you like Blink-182.
It blows me away that people pay for Pandora.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Catherine says that you two shared playlists when you first got together, but now you unironically listen to the Digimon soundtrack together.
Oh, that's adorable.
So cute.
That's right. And that movie, great animation. When you compare it to the anime series. Foreshadowing for our eventual show coming up.
Fair enough. So what other questions did you have about playlists, Tyler?
Okay. I guess I wanted to know what the role of a playlist was in 2015. Who's this for? Who are playlists for?
I think they're for 2 different kinds of people. They're for people who are trying to share music with someone who's not acquainted with it. So I will often build playlists for someone to get them into a band or to get them into a genre of like key tracks. and I think they're for people who are less album-minded than we are. Like my roommate is very top 40, and so he has a couple of playlists and like Spotify radio stations that he listens to exclusively.
Let it go.
Yeah, pretty much. I know entirely too many words to Ariana Grande songs after living with him. So, yeah, I think for him it's just like a way of getting all of the top 40 hits he likes in one sitting.
I heard a thing on NPR this week, and they were talking about how computers aren't able to like make playlists yet because they can't hear all the subtleties in music, and the human ear is better at that. So
We sure know Spotify.
I thought like, okay, well, whatever. That's if that gets you to listen to playlists, then that's fine. But it won't. I feel like I skip through playlists a lot. I'm like, oh no, I don't like that.
Yep.
I don't like that. Nope, next song. And then after like 10 songs of skipping, I'm like,
See, I think that's a problem with the person who made the playlist.
well, I don't even know if that's a problem. It's just that's why I'm not a playlist person. Because I think like I don't think I'm that good at crafting playlists that are like good and continuous and have a theme. I think there's kind of an art to creating a playlist that I'm just not in touch with. So I don't do it that often. I guess I do it, but it's not like my thing.
The joke is that I look up to you to make playlists, Sean. That's what's so funny about it. That I think you're.
Yeah, I really like your playlist.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm going to continue being bad at it because my awfulness seems to produce something that's kind of good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jack White's cruddy guitars.
Emily Clyburn, somewhere out in the void, I feel like is pretty good at making playlists, wasn't she?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Emily and I used to swap mix CDs all the time in high school, and she was killer. Like, she made some of the best mix CDs. Her car was full of them. Like, you open the center console, and it's just CDs with no cases, like, stacked so thick you can barely pull them out.
I think Greg had a crush on her for a while.
Probably. Shouts out to Greg.
All right, so final question, because we'll wrap this one up because we don't want another 45 minutes discussion like last week. What do you think makes a good playlist? Like, what are some like specifications, like length, transition? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Length is important depending on the goal of the playlist. I think a playlist that doesn't transition properly is a sad excuse for a playlist. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this song sounds like it was put on the same album, but like it has to make logical sense. You don't want to go from Anaconda to Cats in the Cradle. Like, that's just painful.
Wait a second, I remember. We had a thing we almost did one time, Taylor, where I was like, all right, I need you to get from
I did it.
Yeah, I remember
between
that
the Berry
thing.
to Me and some other band, I forget what it was.
It was like,
Yeah,
made the connection.
I will link to it in the description of this video. I made an 8-song playlist per Tyler's request that went from Between the Buried and Me to Best Coast.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It
was a
I
super
like
cool
that
playlist.
idea. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, the problem with it was, like, it was really hard to turn it into, I don't know, like a project.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of a fun one-off thing.
I feel like you could totally make it into a project, but right, yeah. I
actually, when I first got to college, I was in a mixed CD club that didn't last very long. But
that sounds really cool, but like those good clubs.
They would like send out the theme a few days before, and then everybody had to like bring a CD burnt with a bunch of songs around that theme, and then you just swapped it randomly with somebody else in the club.
There you go.
It was fun.
I don't know. Like, based off my last comment and kind of what we're saying at, I almost think that there's something kind of arty about making a playlist. Like, you have to know a lot about making playlists. Like, it doesn't just seem like it's amateur hour in making playlists. Like, there has to be a theme. There has to be music that's kind of connected. You want to have somebody that knows a lot about music. You know, like, it's not as easy as just, like, throwing songs that you like into a big pile and just saying, like, go free playlist.
It's the difference between having iTunes on your computer and being a DJ.
Right. So, I don't know. I think that's what I look for in playlists, like I said, but I'm not huge on them. I don't really follow them that much, so. think it's a good,
Tyler,
interesting thing.
what makes a good
I mean,
playlist to you?
I mean, pretty much what we already discussed. I think that a good playlist should. I definitely agree with Sean that it should be almost an artistic expression. I think about 10 songs I feel like is ideal. Um, there definitely should be good flow. I feel like there either needs to be like one mood or it needs to have a shift in mood that feels like appropriate, that means something, you know? Um, I don't know, if for me, hmm, because there's certain songs that you just cannot put on a playlist. There are songs that like have like a weird intro, like I think track 3 or 4 of Random Access Memories that has like that interview that's
Oh,
just way
Giorgio
too
by
long.
Moroder.
Yeah, it could be an amazing song, but if it's got like some outro, some intro that's way too long, it just doesn't work. Songs that like are from like a movie, you know, um, I don't know, you know, it's stuff that's like the Juno soundtrack is a good example of a good of like a soundtrack that you could still put in a playlist, but like a song like a maybe not so much maybe the Scott Pilgrim album maybe because maybe there's like
Yeah.
references or there's like sound clips from like the movie or you know or stuff like that in there and that's just not gonna work.
hmm
So.
We're a little bit short on this topic, so I actually want to add a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talking about the Juno soundtrack reminded me. What's your favorite movie soundtrack to like listen to? Sean, you
Oh,
okay?
sorry. Yeah. Sorry, just going on Ramona. I was just like, back.
That's a really good song.
Love it.
Is there a particular movie soundtrack that you like keep in your car or like listen to often?
Hmm.
No.
Really? You don't do any movie soundtracks at all?
Nope. None at all.
Let it go.
I like Hans Zimmer, but I don't buy his albums. Just listen to the Inception's like movie.
Well, that's why I'm saying soundtracks because I would keep a score in my car.
So.
I think the Juno soundtrack is actually probably one of the only things that I can like recall that I've like ever bought on purpose that I've listened to on purpose just because you know.
What was that?
The Juno soundtrack.
Oh, I mean, I listen to Scott Pilgrim's soundtrack a lot too.
I've got a couple that I like really get into. The Royal Tenenbaum soundtrack is great. It's a good mix of score and like British invasion rock. Let's see. Oh, the Empire Records soundtrack is really nice.
Sean is the elitist.
The Breakfast Club soundtrack. I love that soundtrack.
There you go.
So many hits. Thanks, Sarah.
I actually like can't think of any song in that movie other than the song at the end. Yeah.
Forget all about me.
What other song do you need?
If you recognize me.
I didn't actually listen to it ever before, but I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, like.
I haven't listened to it, but I've heard good things about that. I mean,
you've probably watched the movie and probably enjoyed the songs in it.
Haven't watched the movie.
You haven't?
I've made it this far and I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I haven't seen it either.
All right. Well,
nerd.
Different spectrum. This Venn diagram clearly isn't lighting up. You guys don't like Game of Thrones?
No.
I like Guardians of the Galaxy.
No.
It's not that I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy.
I haven't seen it. I don't know if I don't like
your
it or not.
stupid political shows.
Haters.
Hey,
Haters.
John Oliver, Jon Stewart, The Nightly Show, and Colbert, all great.
Hey, I watched last week tonight.
Everybody watches last week tonight.
Right.
Let's get real.
I haven't seen the new one yet, but.
Anyway, so
speaking of great playlists in that show, I definitely want to see somebody make a playlist of Swedish hotel funk.
Swedish hotel funk.
Oh, not Swedish hotel funk. Swiss hotel funk.
Yeah,
I need to see that.
Last week tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll link to that clip as well. That was really fun. Okay, so are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
I guess. because we
Okay.
can't have a conversation about Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like the best. It's like the best.
Oh my god,
superhero movie.
you're so butthurt about that.
I
Oh
am,
my
but
God.
I tell you what,
Sorry.
I will watch it and we will talk about it on a future episode.
We could talk about it on a different podcast.
Maybe I'll go talk about it on a different podcast without you, just to spite you.
Ooh. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
I
Okay,
want to talk about mine.
yeah, let's talk about Sean's
It's me.
topic.
Okay, so I really struggled for a topic this week, and then I went on Reddit. Thanks, Reddit. Once again, you saved me from having no topics at all ever at any time. And I was on the books forum, and there was an article in Slate about how there's this new app that's going to turn literature into is it GIF or GIF?
It can be whatever you want it to
Okay,
be.
I'm going to make it GIF because I like that better.
There you go.
Hard
Catherine's
G.
gonna strongly disagree, but that's okay.
Oh, that's
Fight me,
fine.
Catherine.
Catherine, let's still be friends.
Butter. It's not peanut butter.
So, so essentially, what she was saying, Katie Waldman, was that this app is going to ruin literature because it's going to sum it all up into one sentence, and no one's going to buy any books, and the whole world's going to end, and publishers are going to die, and authors are going to go extinct, and it's going to look like the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. So then, about 2 scrolls later, I found that there was the author Dennis Cooper. He actually just made an entire book out of GIFs. So we'll have the links to both. I hope that you guys read the book, but the book is actually a horror book, listeners, and it's pretty graphic. We didn't post it up on the Facebook because it is really graphic. If you want to go look at it, just be advised. It just happened to be the book made of GIFs that was there. So, so my first question was, do you agree with Katie Waldman that GIFs are going to kill books?
No.
Absolutely not.
It's the same thing they said when we all had T9 phones and we were texting in abbreviations. It's going to kill grammar, it's going to kill language, and it hasn't happened.
And then immediately after someone, like the old people, said that, they started using that shorthand type, and then we all started using full words because we didn't want to look like old people because we were shortening our words down.
Yeah, the subreddit r/fellow-kids is a really great example of that. I'll link to it in the show notes, but it's just like brands trying to be kids, and they'll be like, "Lol, check out this new like soda pop."
Is it like Brand saying Bay?
It's like Brand Saying Bay, but bigger. Also, at Brand Saying Bay on Twitter, if you're not familiar, definitely worth a follow. No, I don't think GIFs are going to kill books. I think that's stupid.
I mean, I kind of saw her
Get at
concern
me.
when she was saying like, okay, well you can sum it up. Like the idea that you can sum up an entire piece of literature in a GIF is preposterous, first of all. And okay, what she was saying though is kind of like people will start to talk about these books based off this one line when they haven't even read the book, so they don't get it, they don't understand it. You know, and she's kind of worried that that's what literature is. Exactly, I was going to say, like, what about...
Right, it's like misquoting Henry David Thoreau.
Or
Exactly.
wearing a Joy Division shirt because it looks like mountains.
It does look like mountains.
Black Flag. Misfits.
Yeah, I don't think this is new.
But I don't know, I kind of thought, like, this might actually spark people to read books.
It
Like,
might.
I kind of thought having the opposite, because now you're like, it's like mass free marketing for literature. You know, like now you can go on like Project Gutenberg and maybe you'll download a older book, you know, maybe read it.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, I could bring attention to some classics.
Yeah.
If anything, it would help books.
Yeah, I think so too.
Why do you say that?
Exactly what Taylor said. If there's someone sees a quote and they're like, "Oh, I like this," and then they go look it up and they might read the book,
Right.
or not, because it's not like they were going to do it on their own accord anyway.
Yeah, I mean, very few people of their own accord are just like, I'm gonna read the Graves of Wrath.
Do you think that this is like a neat idea? Did you read the article? Did you see how it
Wait,
was done? You can
Yeah.
kind of look up your moods and stuff like that, and
so are you talking about, is this a cool idea, the app or
yeah,
the
the
books?
app, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just reminds me of like quote posts on Tumblr. Like
Oh
picture of
yeah?
a
Oh,
landscape
you
and
got a
text
problem with
over it.
quote posts on Tumblr?
Nope.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is like basically the same thing, but within text messages. Like it's not that innovative or exciting, really.
If anything, it's clunky because you're slapping big images into your messenger and you can't like flip through stuff as quickly. Fight me, I don't care. I like
Pretty
my
hostile
I
tonight.
like
Is that like the quote of the night? Like fight me. Fight me.
Fight me, bro.
it's okay. Sometimes we just have to have aggressive shows. It's fine.
Okay. Except real like get up in their faces shows. Okay, so second one. Did you enjoy the gift book? Gift books. Are they the way of the future?
No.
What's so funny about that?
It was like, honestly, it looked to me like a guy that I knew when I lived in the dorms who would always be like, yeah, man, I've got this cool art thing going on, man. There's like aliens and eyes and like gifts and stuff. That's what it seemed like to me. It was like, I just love gifts. I'm going to throw a bunch of gifts together and it's going to be a book, but not really.
Oh man, this almost reminds me of that thing where someone had like a website that like was taking GIFs from Tumblr and and using it with like a song, and it was like a like repeated. I forget. You showed it to me on it, Taylor. It was like maybe like a year ago.
Are you sure it wasn't like You're the Man Now, dog?
No. It was like procedurally generated things found from Tumblr, GIFs from Tumblr, and then I had like a Janelle Monáe song that was like playing over it.
I don't remember this, but
Okay, don't worry about it.
It does kind of remind me though of YTMNDs.
Right.
Please explain.
You're the man now, dog.
YTMNDs. Yeah, this guy had this picture. Who is it of? Is it like William Shatner or something? Either way, he basically had a GIF or something of some actor cheesily saying, "You're the man now, dog." And in the early days of the internet, he like made it tile across the screen over and over and over again. And when you loaded the website, it would just play on loop an audio clip of him saying that and like doing this at you. And so now it's like a generator, and you can build these microsites that just play GIFs with obnoxious noises at you when you go to them.
Infamously, well, not infamously, but famously, there's the one where it's Riker rolling underneath a closing door, and it has the epic maneuver sound, which is a Nightwish song. Nightwish.
Nightwish.
Ghost Lost Score. And there's also... Oh, there's so many. Never mind. Just let's not get good at that right.
Okay, but did you... So, you guys didn't like the idea of a book made of gifts.
Okay, so...
This was not a gift. It was literally just crap.
I like the idea. But if this is supposed to be like a horror book...
That's his genre, though. That's just what he picked, because that's what he was comfortable with.
Right. But if it's a horror book, and then I kind of get taken out of it when have the Scotsman from Samurai Jack with his gun leg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
That
like,
same
all
dude
right,
pulled me out of it.
okay. There's some probably pretty dark gifts on the internet, and I feel like it's all about the ones that you pick, and I feel like that sort of one just kind of ruined it for me a little bit. Like there's like there's an eyeball rolling down, there's like blood and stuff. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, there's one from a video game. There's one from.
Well, but it's made up of gifts, though.
Well, and the thing that got me about it is that he could have made original GIFs and told a more cohesive story. but instead they're all appropriated gifs, which makes it really hard to follow. Like, I couldn't tell what was going on, really.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of nice. We left it up to the. Okay, so just a disclaimer. I don't like horror books, so I wasn't really into the whole thing. But I kind of liked that it was up to you. It was like new as like kind of up to you as a reader to look at all the gifts and then decide like, okay, well, where's the story going? You know, like
I think that's bad storytelling. I don't think that's
that's
art.
bad songwriting, PT. That's bad.
I just think if you wanted
don't
an
think so.
authentic horror experience, I feel like there's enough gifs on the internet that he doesn't need to use like a train falling into the ocean with shit. You know, I feel like you could find that like without that on it. But maybe it's campy, maybe it's supposed to be a little goofy, and if that's the case, if that's what he was going for, then he nailed it. I mean,
It's definitely campy, that's for sure.
I mean, a lot of them are pretty dark. A lot of these gifts are pretty dark. So I mean, I just don't love it. I like it, but I don't love it.
Okay.
I'd like to see maybe a different book.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I think this is like it's what I like about it is that it's new. Like I haven't seen anybody make a gift book yet. Even when I looked around for more stuff like this, I didn't see that much. If you've seen more listeners / watchers, please post them to us because I would be interested in seeing that this is being widely done. So, how about you, Taylor?
I don't know. I can't say I'd go out of my way to watch another one.
Oh, okay.
I think books with gifs incorporated into them would be really interesting. But just a gif or a series of gifs telling a story.
That's an interesting word that you used there. I wouldn't watch another GIF book.
Well, yeah, because you're not really
Taylor
reading
understood.
it. You're just kind of flowing through it, you know?
Okay. That's good.
Honestly,
I like that thought.
It felt to me like walking through a video art exhibit. That's kind
Let's
of what
say
it
hello to Brazil, everyone.
What are we doing?
There's a question from Wallison Viana from Brazil. He says hi.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Thanks for watching us all the way from Brazil.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry, it's going to be winter down there soon.
At least that's what I think it says. Republic. Yeah, the Republic of Brazil. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's our
Sarah
first
says Sean's the
water.
latest, and she's right.
So my last question is this a fad or are internet integrated books here to stay? Yes or no?
Absolutely. I think internet integrated books are here to stay, but they have to be a book first, internet second.
What I thought what this was gonna be about was there are sort of like HTML5 like articles that like when you scroll that things happen. There's like animated things in the background.
Yeah, that's exactly
whatnot.
what I mean.
So I think that's kind of cool. So maybe you can incorporate the moving images with a type. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's certainly an interesting idea. I think I just need to see more different ideas. Because I mean, I'm flipping through it, and I'm not exactly like I think like what Taylor's saying. I'm not getting exactly a story. Maybe I just feel like maybe there could be. It's just missing just an element, some sort of element, maybe like a preface. I don't know. Maybe that's too much. I don't know.
It did have a preface though.
Yeah, but it didn't have any words in it. It was more gifs.
Well, right, but that's the whole point. It was
right. It's supposed.
Hence the GIF book. Or is it just my like elitist internet literature thing? Is that just what I am?
Yes,
now?
that's what it is.
Maybe in person as an installation. Is that bad? I'm like, throw these images together on a wall, and I'm like, maybe
I agree. I think this would work really well as an installation. I think it's hard to capture.
So does
in this setting.
Does this project? Do you not like it because it's like experiment a different way, or do you just not like it? Period. As it is, like it would be better structured not as a book, but as an art installation or as a series of GIFs on a web page.
I like it. I just like it. I think what I'm just trying to say is what I've been saying is I just want to see maybe a different story. I would just like maybe to try a different one just to see if it feels any different. Like I don't know if horror is maybe what we're looking for in this sort of medium. I feel like GIFs are typically funny. Well, apparently not because there's like there's like 20 that in this slideshow that are pretty horrific, but you know, it's a complex issue.
Yeah, I don't know what doesn't work about it. It just doesn't work. Like there are a lot of factors at play, and I can't tell which one is specifically contributing to me not liking it.
Okay. Just curious. Oh, I like it. I think. I mean, like I said before, reinstated again. Not a huge fan of the horror literature genre, but I think good on Dennis Cooper for doing it like this because that's his most comfortable thing. That's his most comfortable genre to work in terms of literature. Like I looked him up on Wikipedia, and that's what he seems to write is horror stories, which is why I think I do want to see other books, but I think I can't really say that it's wrong. Maybe horror wasn't the way to go because when you're on the frontier, who really knows what there's the way to go? That's what I'm trying to say. But I don't know. I'd be interested to see more GIF books because it's ready. Like it's something new. This could be like the new shape of literature. Don't quote me on that because it's probably not, but never know.
I guess only time will tell.
What did Catherine say?
Oh, she just posted a pixel image of a jar of peanut butter saying GIF.
Where's it at?
It's on Twitter.
I can't see anything on our Twitter.
I don't know what to tell you.
Is it under tweets and replies or under tweets or what?
Oh, dude, download like TweetDeck or something. Don't use the website. Come on now. Amateur hour. Amateur hour.
Let's just move on to our new topic now, Taylor.
It's okay, Sean. You don't have to be a social media expert like Taylor.
Yeah.
Sorry, social media professional.
Thank you. No, really, you can do whatever you want with your life, Sean. I respect your decisions.
Thanks, Mom.
I'm friends with her, and so I'm also friends with the podcast, so that's how I saw it.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about New York. That was a really abrupt segue.
Oh, there it is. Oh, that's funny.
Okay. We good to move on?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to talk about New York, and I want to talk about it specifically from the mid-'70s to the mid-'80s, because that's a period that really interests me. So I gave you guys a short mini-documentary that's a companion to the film A Most Violent Year, and then I gave an optional assignment of a longer documentary called NY77, The Coolest Year in Hell.
Optional assignment.
I know, right?
I need extra credit on the podcast, guys. So.
Yeah, Sean's failing. He needs to get that extra credit.
I can't even see pictures on Twitter, so I probably need all the help I can get.
Yeah. So one of the people in the Most Violent Year mini documentary said that the cheap standard of living and like the degradation of public services, so less police, less maintenance of subways, etc., created kind of a gap that allowed for more creativity in New York in that time period than there is now. And that's my first question is, do you agree with that? Do you think that like there needs to be a gap like that to have so much creativity?
I mean, for that
you want to go first?
That specific kind of creativity, yeah. Urban creativity. Yeah. I mean, seems simple enough. I mean, if it's just difficult to try to like recreate that setting again because we live in such a different world, and I don't know what the equivalent of that would be in our generation because I don't know. It has yet to happen. Um, I mean, like the equivalent of like the lights going out in New York would be like if the Wi-Fi stopped working. You know, you know,
Yeah.
like we don't have access to the internet. What are we gonna do? And then whole musical genres could just be formed underground
Hmm.
without the internet, and then they come
Yeah.
back on, and then
Yeah, I
everything's
should say,
fresh.
for those who maybe haven't studied 20th century American history, um, New York during the 70s and 80s, the city had declared bankruptcy, or was about to declare bankruptcy, or had declared bankruptcy. I don't remember
About
when
to.
they actually did that. Yeah. And you had punk and hip hop and disco all bubbling up in different parts of the city. You had the Son of Sam killer on the loose, killing young women in the streets. And then in 1977, there was like a 24-hour blackout, which caused all sorts of problems, and I don't want to talk too much about that. And a lot of those issues continued on into the 80s until you get to some changes in the leadership of the city and some changes in political philosophy that we'll talk about here in a couple of questions.
But also led to more DJs randomly to come out of nowhere, not because anyone.
Yeah, I love that part of the documentary where they're like, I don't want to say that hip hop only exists because of the blackout, but I got all my DJ equipment during the blackout. I thought that
Yeah,
was really great.
that was funny.
Sean, what do you think? Do you need to have like urban squalor to have creativity on such a large scale?
No, you don't even need New York to have this on a larger scale.
Uh-oh.
Just as a comment here that Sarah and I already talked about this. See, I think there's this like strange attitude with people from that go to New York or that come from New York or live in New York that like New York is this like rough and tumble place where like stuff happens because it's New York and it's like extra hardcore or something like that. And it's really this, to me, it's like a delusion that somehow you're like tougher because you're from New York. So things just happen in New York because it's more creative, or it's a lot rougher than it was, or the desert in New York is a lot hotter and sandier than deserts everywhere else because it's from New York and it's a desert. And it's just boring. It's like, if poverty is the key. Oh, yeah, I see exactly. Sarah's comment is perfect. Let me read it out loud. If poverty is the key, then will Detroit be the next epicenter of pop culture? That's exactly what you have to say. Because it's just boring. That was the thing about the 2-hour documentary, was all these people from New York, same with the clip, saying, New York makes people hard. New York makes blah, blah, blah. New York, New York, New York. And they're also invested in this stupid brand of New York. It's like punk already existed before it got to New York. Maybe there wasn't a particular brand, New York brand of punk. Hip hop existed outside of New York. Maybe there was a brand.
I would argue that.
I would debate that hard. That it came from that it started someplace else in New York. It's just the cult of New York has this way of like building itself up as the creator of everything, and partially too, I think people want to believe it. But still,
See,
no, I don't think New York is a special place. I think people that lived there definitely had it hard, and that it definitely contributed to these art forms. But I don't think that the void in New York created these things.
I think it did, though. I really do. And I think part of the thing is that it's hard for us to understand it because we just don't have any analog to it now. Like, New York is such an expensive place to live now. It's one of the most expensive cities on Earth. And so it's really hard to contemplate, like, a city where all of the most creative people live, because the economic world that we live in now is just so much more divided.
But I think that's a huge overgeneralization though about New York, that all the most creative people work
No,
in
I'm
New
not saying
York.
that all of the most
I don't
creative
think that at
people
all.
ever lived in New York, but what I'm saying is places like the East Village and places like the Bronx and places like this, because they had a mystique to them, kids would drop out of college and move there during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you can't do that anymore. Like, it's not financially sustainable, and so the city stops being like this bastion, because of course not everybody who lived there was rough and tumble and interesting and creative. but enough people were, and they all hung out together because they lived in the same city. Like, scenes can develop anywhere, and I think scenes just developed there through a combination of mystique and cheap living. And now that there's not a place with both mystique and cheap living, we have these places like Detroit, where if artists or if small business people were to move into Detroit, they could maybe like help to turn the city around. But Detroit has such a bad image and no mystique to it that nobody wants to go there, and they would rather just like live in the suburbs of Columbus or something than go to Detroit and try and be a part of a new version of a city.
Right, because everyone's going to California.
Sarah says no, people do it all the time. I do think people do it all the time, Sarah, but I don't think they're doing it in the same way that they did before. A lot of the people that I know that are like, I'm going to drop out of college and move to New York, I'm going to drop out of college and move to LA.
Who
They
says
go there
that?
and work as unpaid interns,
Oh.
and it's like the plot of Girls. It is Williamsburg and Bed-Stuy. I think I definitely agree. I have a friend from college right now who's like crashing with her parents in Jersey trying to save up enough money to move to Williamsburg, and I'm like, girl, what are you doing with your life? But I think it's so much harder to do that now that it just changes it. Like, having that much affordable housing, even if it was terrible affordable housing, really allowed some interesting creative scenes to happen that I don't think you could have now. But that's just my opinion. Like everything
Just
else
your
on this
opinion,
show.
man.
Yeah. So then, I think we're all kind of like on opposite sides of this debate. But the next one is the one that I really expect to be the debate question, and it's the broken windows theory. If you're not familiar with the broken windows theory,
Sean's already shaking
Sean's
his head.
already shaking his head, and I think I'm going to agree with what he said.
Stupid.
So the idea of the broken windows theory is that you can go into a neighborhood and slowly rebuild it by fixing small-time crimes like broken windows and graffiti so that people feel like it's a nicer neighborhood and then they don't commit as much crime. And before we talk about the theory, I do want to point out Sarah's comment. She says she knew plenty of people who were artists and actors, not unpaid interns. I mean, that's not my experience, but I'm also from the rural Midwest, and like, I don't
And
know.
how?
Yeah. We all know how these things go. You run in different circles and people do different things, but either way, there are still people dropping out of school to move to these places, and I think it's an even worse idea now than it was before.
So if you believe...
So let's talk broken windows.
Okay, so broken windows theory. We'll put it on the right side, and then on the left side, so I don't have to say this any further, just do any reading in critical race theory, and it's done. It pretty much explains away everything that has to do with broken windows theory. So I think that's all you gotta say about that. You can explore it on your own time, kids. So
you don't buy into this at all?
Can you give me a TLDR?
No. It's a TLDR.
Too long, didn't read.
Oh, basically, the broken windows theory of crime.
I didn't know that you lived in New York for a while, Sarah.
Basically, critical race theory is it's like critical theory, which is like a school of thought that looks at things critically. I mean, that's pretty much it. But it deals with race a lot more. So their big critique of broken windows, and this is not me speaking for them, this is my interpretation of it, of the critical race theory of broken windows, is that it was actually a tactic used by the government to target and discriminate against African Americans and people of color, etc., mostly people of color, exclusively to gentrify neighborhoods and things like that, to move them out so that people who were in better off could come in and buy stuff cheap, turn it into something that they could make more money off of, and just keep the cycle going. So essentially is institutionalized racism.
As well as an engine for generational poverty.
Right.
We should put that part in there too.
Yeah.
So I'm totally on board with you on this.
And I totally believe that to be true. I buy their arguments.
Yep, I think, and it's really bizarre because this issue in particular, like, it's so weird to see where people fall on it. A lot of the creative people who we see in these documentaries talking about New York in the 70s and 80s are like, man, I hate this like broken windows garbage because it makes the city weak, and they don't like it for like completely opposite reasons. And only a small subset is like, no, this is actually just like really, really evil, and we probably shouldn't be doing this. But yeah, I definitely dislike it for the reasons that you were saying. I do have like a certain romantic attachment to like the tough New York, mid-century New York, but that's not the reason I dislike broken windows theory. I think those are two separate things that sometimes get conflated. And
Yeah, broken windows. The broken windows title would be like a really good way to like make something that's like a neutral term that doesn't sound like it would be like prejudiced towards somebody, and then actually it is, So like during the Ferguson thing, people like so another like term of this is the use of the word thug. Okay, so like in political science, there is a term for thug. We actually have defined this. It is like somebody who goes and commits acts of violence like for something like with zeal. So like a thug might be somebody who like upholds some kind of like law with a religion. That is a thug. There's a particular definition that you use in certain words. In Ferguson, in America, when we say the word thug, that is a racially charged word. That instead of saying what you really think, your racist terms, you just can say the word thug because anybody can be a thug. But really, when you step behind the word, when you look at the use of the word, you can see that it's used in a racial way. And that's the same, like, so you can say like, oh, keep the thugs off the streets. Well, really what you're saying is, same way with broken windows. Broken windows, which seem to be in these underdeveloped areas, which is also another loaded word. It's just the critical theory right there, done and done. Thanks, guys. You did a lot for for me academically, and now I see the world totally differently, and it's a scary place.
Tyler, you're pretty quiet on this. What are your thoughts?
I don't even want to say anything because I'm a white person from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Sean is probably correct. Whatever he is saying, I have no experience or any study of anything that we're talking about. So I just...
Well, no, I mean, you should look it up. Don't,
I read a little bit, but it didn't... Well, of course, Wikipedia is going to make it sound like as objective as possible.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, but I'm the same as you. I'm a white guy from the Midwest. I mean, literally, I'm pretty much at the top of the food chain because I'm a white guy. That's pretty up there in terms of having power.
Right.
So, I mean,
but I guess I don't want to go completely into the race debate, which I think is an important component of this. I like the quote that Sarah has shared over here. I'm going to paraphrase it because it's fairly long. But she talks about, in this quote from Of Human Bondage, saying that people say poverty is the best spur to the artist, and they have never felt the iron of it in their flesh. They do not know how mean it makes you. And it goes on from there, giving more specific applications. That's the part of this that I'm really interested in, is this idea that, like, are poverty and creativity in some way associated? Or this idea of, like, people who aren't in poverty slumming it to get creative inspiration, which I think was the case a lot of the time in the time period we're dealing with. And so I think that kind of brings us to, how do we apply this now? Are there places that this level of crime exists, like the level of crime that they're talking about in these documentaries? And are there places where this level of creativity exists, and are they the same place?
I don't
Or
want to
are
say
we
that it's just crime that produces this stuff, because I think maybe like
crime or
hardship and
poverty
struggle
or whatever you want to call it?
might be a better way to put it, because I don't know, crime just, it sounds like that's a weird word. That's a loaded word for me. Um,
So why don't we say,
well, that's why I said like hardship or struggle, like
yeah,
where
let's
where
say
there's where there
let's
seems
say
to.
urban struggle in terms of like.
I wouldn't even say urban. I would just say like
Well, I
struggle
think it's important
period.
that it's urban because you're defining the number of people and the scale, like the structural factors that are involved, like logistics and public transportation. Because when you watch the documentary, like transportation and housing and those sorts of things play into this significantly in a way that they wouldn't if it was taking place in the Midwest.
Or in a country
Yeah.
where there's 5 people.
Right? Does that make sense? Like, I want to make sure that the structural factors are being acknowledged too.
I
Like
guess I'm coming at this, like, just as a side note, I'm coming at this from a weird perspective because I feel the need to like dethrone New York as this place that's so hardcore.
Right, and I don't want to talk about New York specifically now. I'm saying, is
Right,
there anywhere
and
other than New York where a combination of structural factors and hardship and all of these things are generating new forms of creativity?
I mean, it's any person in the entire world that has it off, that doesn't have it great. I mean, hardship typically, well, I mean, I guess you shouldn't even say typically, but we do see famous people that, like, I came from nothing and I got here because I worked really hard. Hardship does, I mean, it does give you some initiative. It gives you some like drive. It can, doesn't always, because some poor people just stay poor. But some of those people go on and they make music and they make a lot of money. I mean, and I just think that in the 21st century, that's possible anywhere. It doesn't have to be have like an epicenter in New York. It doesn't have to be in California. The other day or the other week, people on Tumblr were getting upset because California has this struggle or this hold on the animation world, and all these animators from like all across the country are like, fuck that, I'm in, Florida, I'm in the middle of the country and I'm an animator. I don't need to be in California to do what I want to do. So just to take it away from, I feel like, a race issue into more
Right,
of a
so,
hardship, a drive.
but I like
We can all go
yeah.
out to California or to New York to go to those places. So
I like your point though that like through the power of the internet, you could really do whatever job you want from anywhere, which creates a part of it.
And that's why it's hard. That's why there hasn't been necessarily a specific scene that's arisen from like a particular area, at least in my opinion. That's why I think we've kind of like formed our own internet country. As a person that's trying to sell themselves on the internet, I am experiencing a void, an infinite void. So I might as well be in like internet poverty because I have about 200 people that follow me on Twitter that don't respond to me, that don't check out my work, that don't buy my stuff. I might as well be a poor person on the internet because I don't have any like net worth on the internet.
In terms of social capital, yeah.
Right.
Sean,
In
what do
actual
you
capital,
think?
because I don't have any money on the internet either. So.
Oh, I don't know. No,
Do you
we're
think-
in like a really big place now.
Yeah.
I know,
See,
but do you think the internet is the death of the scene? Is
No.
the big takeaway question?
No, I think that the internet is the proliferation of the scene, because if you did feel isolated before, if you did feel like you were in a void before, now you can find people that are just like you.
that's right.
And whether that's for better or for worse, it's going on. So before, when I look around like Akron and Cleveland, I don't know how many two-person bands there are, but when I get on Spotify and the internet, I can find a lot of two-person bands. And
There's
that style
only
of
one
music
two-person
really,
band in Akron that you need to know about, though.
yeah, the Black Keys. Woohoo! Yeah, no hate on them, but yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think that the internet has kind of taken away the power that these creative scenes have now, because you can find these people. Like you can find people more readily if you have the ability to get, the information. So no, I don't think it's dead. I just don't think that there's like epicenters for this anymore as much as there was. And the internet has done that, which is good.
I agree. I think it's good. I just think we're still kind of in an adjustment phase. I think it's going to be strange as scenes, if we're going to call them that, on the internet mature, because they're not going to have as much physical contact as they did before. And so I think that's just going to change the way that actors in different groups interact with one another and how creativity evolves. But I'm very interested to see where it goes.
Yeah. Just to comment about your questions, do you think that so when I read the rest of your questions, do you think there's a correlate between like crime-ridden places and creativity?
No, not necessarily. That's a correlation that the second documentary in particular makes.
Okay.
They talk a lot about how hip-hop evolved by trying to get people out of crime and get them into more productive uses of their time.
Right.
And I don't necessarily agree with that correlate either, but that's a correlate that the film makes. I should have pointed that out earlier.
I think there's a large feeling like that. Like I've watched other documentaries on hip-hop where they've talked about how like becoming a hip-hop artist and a rapper was like the pinnacle of being a good dealer, was because you finally had enough money where you could stop doing that. You could start, following your creative endeavors and have enough money to do that. Because it is really expensive. I mean, he watched a documentary, like he said, and he said, like, when the blackout happened, where do you think I got my mixer from? Like, it's a really expensive thing. So yeah, but I don't know if that necessarily makes it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of factors at play there, but
so
the economics of creativity are really interesting, and we've talked numerous times on this podcast about how they're changing right now. I mean, this podcast costs us no money at the moment. It just costs us a small time investment, and imagine the amount of money it would have cost 10 years ago even.
Right. Yeah, it's just crazy to think about.
Very exciting stuff.
Well, speaking of 10 years ago, YouTube. Happy birthday, YouTube.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it the 10th anniversary?
Yeah. Not today,
awesome.
but this last week, I think it was. YouTube was out for everybody to use.
That's awesome.
Back when it was just lots of weird, stupid videos of people.
I had a super nostalgia YouTube video.
I remember, the first time people were getting on about YouTube, and I was just like, who cares? To be fair, you also had to wait for it to buffer, and you had to sit there.
Right.
You darn kids not knowing what buffering is.
Wow, when I logged on the internet when I was a kid, this is what it sounded like. Beep, bleep, bloop, bleep, bleep.
You've got mail.
Right. Then if you used it at 7 o'clock at night when everybody got home from work, you were never going to get anything to load. MSN used to be the best database on Earth. You see get whatever you wanted on MSN. And Yahoo.
Man, the early days.
Or AOL.
Yahoo was useful.
Oh, funny story about this. When I was living with my aunt about 4 years ago over the summer when I was working in Cleveland, and she finally got high-speed internet. And so when the guy's installing it, he was probably like our age now, and he comes in, and my aunt's like, okay, well, I was using AOL before, so do I still need to buy hours to use the internet?
What?
And literally, his face was like, what is AOL? Like, he really didn't know what AOL was, and he didn't know that you had to buy hours to use AOL. And I was just like, geez, I'm so glad that I'm here to experience this moment of two generations just coming together with. It's like opposite magnets, So, thanks, internet.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and do some shameless plugs. Now that we've thanked the internet for giving us our wonderful lifestyle where we get to be highly uninformed about things on the internet for an hour a week
Answer racial questions.
for free.
3 white guys talk about
Talk about critical race
institutionalized
theory.
racism.
Right. Oh God.
Let's have someone to some weird places, gentlemen.
Be amazing how much they don't know.
Tyler, did you do anything this week?
Hi everybody. I bought Squarespace, a website, not the entire company, because that would be more expensive. Just find a website. So yeah. Apparently someone snatched up my tdrdesign.com. So I'm a little salty about that, but I am at http://www.tylerdreed.com. There you go.
Is that
It's
with
a
an
work in
A or an E?
progress. Huh?
Is that with an A or an E?
Yes.
Oh. It's 2 E's, Sean.
Okay. Just for those who don't know, I don't know.
Right.
Does Tyler read?
I know.
I'm actually gonna make a parody website just to hurt his Google search, and it's gonna say, "Does Tyler read?"
Listen, someone
and
already
there'll be
has
a live updating list of everything Tyler has read in his life.
It's like 2 things, so.
Exactly.
But no, there's actually a gay porn star that also shares my name, so you could possibly run into that. There's also a football player for Chicago.
Getting all those portfolio hits.
Right. That's great.
Well, check out Tyler's portfolio.
That's
I'm on there
awesome.
now, and it looks nice.
It looks okay. I need to still work on it. But thank you, though. I appreciate it. Everywhere else, you can find me at TDR Design, Twitter, mostly Twitter. Talk to me on Twitter. Please. I'm alone and desperate. I need people to say funny things to me, and I can say funny things back. That's
Sean,
it.
what do you got this week?
Yeah, I didn't really work on much this week. On my blog a little bit, but that's not been that great. I do want to do a trivia again. Because I was listening to some stuff and I was like, ho, this is a good trivia question. So if you win this trivia question, I will send you your choice of one of the 2 personalized art things that I've made so far.
Ooh.
New little graffiti pieces. So let me just, if you're listening to the podcast now, sorry, Sarah, you can't play because you already know the answer. So I went to the library because they're cool places, and I picked up this album. I don't know if you can see it. It's Black Flag's.
There you go.
Flip It In. Okay, so here's the question. On this album, which was made in 1984, there is another band. You might know them as Queens of the Stone Age. On their album, Songs for the Deaf, there was a drum cover on one of the songs for Songs for the Deaf, homaged by Dave Grohl on this song for Queens of the Stone Age. If you can tell me both songs, I will send you one of my personalized pieces of your choice. I'll get in contact with you and show you what they are, and you can choose. So hit us up at Twitter, hit us up at the Facebook. You can look at this on the internet too. I did confirm this in a couple of books just to make sure I was right.
And the 2 albums again, just to be sure.
Flip It In by Black Flag and Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age.
It'll probably also be in text format later on at some point.
Yeah, it will be. I'm going to type it out. But
there you go.
Yep, so be on the lookout for that.
So, but that's it for me. Yeah.
Cool. I don't like to plug things for work, but I want to plug something for work this week because I got to write a blog post about The Matrix this week for work. Like, I got paid for it, and it's one of my favorite movies ever, and it was really fun to be able to do for my job. So it's going to be down in the links. I really want to know what people's favorite costumes from The Matrix were. If you could leave them in the comments on that website, that would be great. Because I'm specifically talking about that movie as like a moment in action movie costuming style.
A moment in leather history.
Yeah, pretty much. There's so much leather in that movie. So yeah, hit up that link. It'll be down in the description. Otherwise, make sure you follow Dudes Brunch on Twitter, Michael K, and other people who are like, I don't know when the show comes out. I've never actually watched this show. Follow us on Twitter, and you'll know when it is. We send links there like the rest of the internet. You can also like us on Facebook. The links are up there. Follow us on Periscope at Dudes Brunch. We do live streams there sometimes. And yeah, in the comments of the show, let us know if you're still interested in an audio version of Dudes Brunch. Working out what that's going to look like and what it's going to cost right now. And so if there's enough interest, we may do it. Yeah. Anything else for the good of the order, gents?
And please just comment. Say anything.
Yeah, let us know.
Videos. You can even thumb it down. You can thumb it up, you can thumb it down.
Yeah, we have like no
Thumb
comments.
it all around.
Give us some love, people.
Yes,
Or
just
hate. Just give us something.
literally use it as a way to talk to us.
That's all we want. We just want attention.
That's all we want is, well, not necessarily attention, we just want someone to talk to because we're lonely people.
We're in this creative void right now, and
Right.
we just need to know
We're screaming and no one's
what
hearing
to
us.
do. Right.
And
So
on that very bleak, depressing
don't-
note, make sure you eat at Arby's, and we'll see you next week.